it actually alleviates a lot of stress, because in a regular restaurant where you're kind of waiting for front of house members to run the food, as soon as the food is ready for us, we can just take it to the table, explain it, answer all of the questions about it, all of the dishes, because we spend all day making the food.
It is that time of year, awards season. The Age Good Food Guide will be out on November 15, and one of the most watched awards is that of Young Chef of the Year. Today we are speaking to one of the finalists in this really prestigious and sometimes life-changing part of the Good Food Guide. Cameron Tay-Yap is the head chef at Amaru. Cam, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Thanks for having me.
What does it mean to you to be named one of the Young Chefs of the Year and the finalists in this competition?
Well, I mean, I'm very honoured and flattered to be part of the awards, and it's really great to be nominated and made it to the finals. I guess I'm very nervous at the moment, but it's been amazing. I guess it's very affirming and nice to be recognised after going on this journey from a very young age, but it's been really good.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, whatever happens, I mean, it's already a great success. I think you should be so proud and don't be nervous. You can't lose, honestly.
Yeah, it's just like competitiveness,
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd love to talk about that, but let's frame it by a discussion of you as a chef and how you got into cooking. I followed your career for a while, even though are you 25?
I am.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're only 25, but I feel like I've been following your career for years. Tell me how it all started for you.
Well, I guess it started when I was in high school. So I went to Melbourne High, which is a typically, I guess, more the journey that most kids go through from that school is to go to uni and then pursue a career in offices, I suppose. But I guess I was very torn from a lot of influences, like growing up in a very typically Chinese, Malaysian household. My mum just wanted the best for me, and I guess I was getting pushed to pursue a different career. So I was I kind of torn between going to uni to do law, or I guess following this new found passion of cooking, which is two very opposite sides of the professional spectrum, I guess.
Yeah, well, and, as a good Asian kid with a mum who saw a different path for you, I know that was a real challenge to strike out in a different direction. But, I mean, what was it about food that lit you up? Like, why were you even interested in pursuing that as a career?
Well, in high school, we did a hospitality course, which was one of my VC subjects. One of the assignments was to look into a couple of different restaurants and to write about them. And lucky me, I somehow found a restaurant called Alinea, and I was writing about it and researching it, and I was, I guess, for the first time exposed to the idea and the philosophy of food being able to play a more of a emotional sort of part in an overall experience, not just, I guess, providing sustenance and nutrition. So seeing that kind of blew my mind a little bit, and I fell down this rabbit hole and kept going and going and going, and I guess here I am.
It's really amazing. So my good friend and someone that's been important in your life, Caroline Velick, an amazing Melbourne food stylist, she had a kid at Melbourne High as well. Can you tell me how she came into your life?
Well, in year 12, we did a mother-son brunch, and at that time, I guess I was most confused about what I wanted to do still. I was really 50-50, and Caroline was putting off this mother-son brunch, and I decided that I would volunteer to help. And yeah, I was the only other kid that was helping out for this brunch, and she appreciated it, and we started chatting, and we spoke about this decision, and she asked if I wanted to take a day off to come and help her out in the studio where she was shooting for Heston Blumenthal's Coles range. So I did that, and got to meet Heston as a young kid, and that was pretty cool. And we chatted some more. So between Caroline and Kath Claringbold at Birch and Purchase, so they both were big influences in me choosing to go on this journey. They gave me a lot of opportunities, and spoke a lot of wisdom into me, which was really pivotal in making this decision. But yeah, they've both been amazing.
It's so interesting. You know, the path can be so random. Just encountering a particular person at a particular time can be so course altering. So Cam, I can't believe that you met Heston when you were at school. I mean, that must have just been pretty crazy. Tell me the journey with you and your mum. Like, how did you have to sell it to her over and over again? Was she just like in a crisis about it? Like, what was it like?
Well, the first couple of years is always, I guess, challenging. It was very unknown waters. So typically, well, the way that she's been brought up, cooking isn't, I guess, a real viable career choice. Cooks in Malaysia, where she was brought up, tend to be like hawker halls, or like, just like the idea is that you're just one of the other people trying to make a living. It's not really like you're going to thrive and really go very far. So in that respect, there was a lot of fear behind the decision, and Mum just wanted what was best for me. Wanted me to have a nice future, so she still wasn't sure of anything. But I decided to work hard. I went to William Angliss for a little while before just being full-time at Attica, which started off as a summer internship, and then I guess became my life for 4.5 years. But yeah, at the start, had to continuously convince her that this was what I wanted to do. And she was always very supportive. She would drive to Attica in the middle of the night, sleep in the car, and she would wait for me to finish work. And then she would drive me home, or let me drive, just to make sure that I get all my hours on my L's. So in that respect, I mean, she's always been super supportive, just fearful at the start. But when she sees that, I was working very hard and I was very passionate, and I was very lucky to have a lot of great mentors and people in my life who are playing I guess, a role model sort of position. So she was very happy and thankful for all of that. And eventually she's kind of just now accepted it, and she's just appreciative to be able to be on the journey with me, which is something that I'm also very thankful for.
Did you have any doubts yourself about the path that you'd chosen?
Absolutely. At the start, it's like, everyone from my friends to family that I was grown up with, all gone in a different direction, a more, I guess, a standard route. So for me, it was like, well, this has to work. I have to succeed. Otherwise, I don't want to. Well, you never really want to fail, but it was definitely this whole. Well, I got to set a good example for my younger brother. I have to, work hard so that I can show everyone in my family that this is, I wasn't wrong to pursue this. And it was I guess that competitiveness in me came out as well, to really prove everyone wrong that this was a good decision. This was, that I'm not taking inverted commas like an easy way out. And yeah, so far I think it's been going well.
Well, to be head chef at Amaru, exquisite fine dining restaurant at such a young age is certainly testament to your effort, talent, and commitment. I mean, you're still young. There's still so much ahead of you. But how do you reflect on where the path has taken you so far?
I'm very thankful for all the people who have been in my life, from Ben and Matt and Attica. I've been surrounded by great role models and lots of different people who I'm thankful to call, I guess, mentors, and we catch up quite often. And I guess I'm very blessed to be in the position that I am in. And I know it's like kind of almost unheard of to be this young and in this position. So I'm very thankful that Clinton has given me this opportunity to and put his trust in me to not burn the restaurant down. And I mean, I've got very great supportive people like my partner Trish and my mum, who without any of them it would have been a very different story. I probably won't be where I am, to be honest.
So tell us about the project at Amaru. So Clinton McIver is the owner and the chef of the restaurant. He's trusted you to not burn down the kitchen. Tell me what the week is like there. What kind of food are you guys putting up?
Well, we are open Tuesday till Saturday, with lunch and dinner on Friday and Saturdays. We do tasting menu only, with the option of a slightly reduced menu for lunch on Friday and Saturday. But we're looking at 4 snacks, 7 courses, and a couple of petit fours. So it's, I guess, a full tasting. It's almost like a journey or an expression of what we think is nice at the moment, what's seasonal, and delicious. We're still trying to use up a lot of native ingredients and, I guess, represent them and express them in our own way. But yeah, I guess it's a little bit more experimental and flavor driven. But so far, I've really enjoyed working with Clinton. I think we work quite well together. I like the setup of Amaru. It's small and intimate, but one thing I really love about Amaru is that there's no divide between the front and back of house. So all of the chefs, we take all the food out to the guests and we can explain all of the food. We're starting to learn about pouring wines, and we'll be pouring wine at the chef's experience very soon. And that's something I don't think I've ever seen in any other restaurant. But in that respect, it's really great for our kitchen culture for the front and back to not be separated at all. And it leaves the front of house guys to really focus on providing excellent service, doing what they're great at pouring the wines, really connecting with guests, making them feel at home. And then from a kitchen point of view, it actually alleviates a lot of stress, because in a regular restaurant where you're kind of waiting for front of house members to run the food, as soon as the food is ready for us, we can just take it to the table, explain it, answer all of the questions about it, all of the dishes, because we spend all day making the food. So of course, for me, I think the kitchen is always going to know a little bit more about the dishes, and the front of house have a bit more of a connection with the food. And it breaks down that barrier that the guests have with generally a closed kitchen.
What's a dish that you love taking out to a table, that perhaps one that you get lots of interested questions about and people just love eating?
Something that I really like at the moment is the second dessert on the menu. So it is an ice cream made from house-made brioche, with seasonal citrus marmalade, as well as a jam made from Davidson plums and blackberries, and then a caramel, which is poured tableside, made from all of our sourdough scraps. So I think the dish is really great because it minimizes a lot of the food waste in the restaurant, or it actually, I guess, maximizes it. I mean, we're using up all of our food waste and repurposing it, and I guess it's something that we are trying our best to continue doing. So I think it's interesting, it's delicious, and it is also sustainable. So that's kind of ticks all the boxes for me.
Yeah, and I've been lucky enough to eat that dish, and it is absolutely delicious. And I'd say yeah, it's so good. I'd say to look at, it's one of the more understated dishes. Like it's a bit of a slow reveal, isn't it? Like you sort of got to, yeah, dig through the layers to find the treasures within that dish.
Absolutely. I mean, looking at it, it looks quite simple. It is like very minimalistic. It looks like two or three elements on a plate, but I guess as you continue digging through it, you find a couple more elements, and they all work quite well. And for me, it's also kind of nice because for me, it's like almost reminiscent of like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, just in a different way, I guess.
So, Cam, you're up for Young Chef of the Year, but you're also a leader. You're leading a team there at Amaru as head chef. What's that like? And what do you see, from your great vantage of age of the younger generation that's coming up?
Yeah, I mean, being in this role is still, I guess, new for me, and it's something that I'm definitely working on. But at Amaru, I guess the kitchen especially, we have quite a young team. It's pretty crazy that I'm maybe one of the oldest in there at the moment. But look, we're also very lucky to have a young team of very passionate individuals. We have a couple of young apprentices, and they're doing an absolutely great job, and they're super hungry and super passionate about what they're doing. So in the role that I'm currently in, you have to keep fueling this passion that the young people are showing, and really supporting them. Like our apprentice Ryan, he just did a pop up 3 weeks ago, and it was great. It was great to see him, step out and really do his own thing. And I mean, a lot of the staff at Amaru, we were very happy to raise a hand and help out. Just there as a supporting role. It was literally just there to make sure that things run smoothly for him and that he could continue doing these things. It really benefits everyone for him to continue trying new things and keep experimenting, keep trying, keep, I guess, building on himself, which was great. And it's really flattering to see him do things that we are teaching him, whether it's in techniques or the way that things are set up. It put a smile on my face, that's for sure. But yeah, we have a very young team. I think something that I'm still working on is really stepping more into that mentoring and teaching role. Something that's still a little bit new to me, but I understand that it is also part of the job and the journey. And I think looking back, it's kind of surreal that I'm in that sort of role. because I always look back on my mentors and people that I was surrounded with, and it's almost weird to be that person now.
That's great. So let's talk more about pop-ups, because that's where I first ate your food, was at pop-ups that you did over the years. And yeah, other of the young chefs that are up against you in the Good Food Guide Awards are doing pop-ups as well. So Savni Krishnan alongside Sriram Aditya Suresh do their Sadi pop-up, which I'm very excited to try soon. So it's obviously a way that young, keen, ambitious chefs can showcase what they're doing, try out, being in charge of a service and a menu. Tell us about your experience with pop-ups and what you think you've got out of them.
Well, I've done a lot now. So my first one I did when I just turned 18. And I first started them because we had just moved house and we were no longer able to do dinner parties just because our kitchen just wasn't, up for it. And when Mum told me that we couldn't do these dinner parties, I had said, well, okay, then I'm just going to do a pop-up. And instead of a dinner party for 10 people, I'll do it for 40, 50 people. And it was that real competitive and determined sort of spirit which I went in with. I didn't really think about the logistics of anything. And, the first one's never, well, it was, looking back, horrible. But it makes you learn really quickly, and at a young age, at 18, having to think about a menu, thinking about staff, thinking about front of house, thinking about bookings and the whole, I guess, experience of it, you start learning really quickly. So then I was doing maybe 3 or 4 a year with the goal that each time that you do one, you're going to improve on lots of things, whether it's the kitchen setup or the, every time we did it, we would do a completely new menu, redesign the menu, and keep adding to it. So now, after God knows how many, maybe like 14 pop-ups, I have a stack of plates, cutlery and napkins and everything. And I'm still learning every single time. You're learning all kinds of different stuff. And it's great, it's definitely made me grow really quickly into this role. And I guess to a degree that's led to me being in the position that I'm in. But it's like a test run for the real thing, because you're only doing it for 1 or 2 nights, but you really have to organize everything.
Yeah, that's so interesting, isn't it? Because I guess when you're running a restaurant, like, consistency is, I reckon, the most important thing, like that you have something you're going for and you can continue to achieve it. But I guess with a pop-up, it's like you're just like leaping to the top of the mountain and then just jumping off and packing away all your gear till next time. It's such a kind of thrill ride, isn't it? But,
oh yeah, let's say thrill. It's a lot to do and to just for one night, because it's this whole build up. You're spending your nights after work at home, prepping, getting things organized, getting all your plates, your crockery, getting all of that ready, organizing the bookings, doing the layout. So in a way, being at work is a lot easier because you're focusing on that one thing, whether it's running a section or running the kitchen, but you're not having to look at the whole picture. So when you're doing the pop-ups, you have everything on your plate now, and depending on whether it's a collaboration or just off your own back, it can be quite a lot.
Yeah, and then the next time you do it, you just leap straight to the top of the next mountain.
Exactly.
Cam, I guess one of the things that you need to really think about when you're a head chef is is costs. And it's such a huge conversation in hospitality. I mean, always, but I feel like now more than ever, or perhaps people are just being more open about it and how difficult it is. From your perspective, you're working in fine dining, but also I guess your experience with the pop-ups. What do you, where do you see costs going? Like, are menus just going to get more expensive? Are people going to like economize in other ways? Like, where does it shake down for you?
I think it's interesting. I think people generally are finding more value in these experiences. And people are always going to have events and things that they want to celebrate, and moments in the year where they want to splurge out. So I think fine dining is always going to be one of those things that people are going to appreciate. I think, though, that in Melbourne, perhaps the culture is a little bit more casual. So kind of leaning towards like casual fine dining sort of thing. But I think people are still coming to grips with just the overall cost of everything. Vegetables, meat, fish, everything costs money. And, with everything that's been happening, costs just keep going up. Inflation keeps going up. And so I guess people need to be a little bit less surprised with how much everything costs. Generally speaking, we don't have too many issues. I think our current menu, realistically speaking, is quite reasonable. I don't think it's always hard to say, because from my point of view, when you're looking at the food costs and everything, and you're like, oh yeah, when you break everything down, it actually doesn't really cost a lot. You can go to an a la carte restaurant and have a big spread and probably build a bill that is very similar. But even when I was going out to eat at a young age, you go to these tasting menus, and it comes, when you book it, it's I guess a little bit daunting, because you see, oh yep, $250 per person. You're like, oh, that sounds like a lot of money. But then you break it down into how many items you're getting, and it's, say you're having 10 or 12 items 13 items in a menu. And if you just divide the overall cost between everything, it's actually realistically quite reasonable. But yeah, definitely recently things just are starting to cost a lot more. And I think most restaurants, it is a struggle to try and recost dishes without backlash from the public. But unfortunately, that's just how it is right now. You have to pay the bills and pay the staff correctly, and it's just how it is.
Yeah. So the tasting menu at Amaru, $250 or $200 for that lunch only version. I guess it's all relative, isn't it? I was chatting to someone who operates a pizza restaurant recently, and she was telling me, sometimes a bunch of basil was came in at $10, and they were really rationing the leaves on the pizza, like it's 3 leaves only per pizza. And you just think, well, if you don't want a pizza to cost $35, then that's the kind of stuff you need to think about. Or maybe the pizza should be $35. But it's, I suppose there are these kind of considerations that have to be made all the time, and really day by day. So I guess again yeah, but of course you can't change menu prices every day, especially in a restaurant like yours. So, it's really tricky. It's really, yeah.
It is tough. It is very tricky. It's funny. I think gone are the days where we would pay $5 for a family style pizza. It's interesting to be able to be part of that sort of lifestyle 10 years ago, and then also now it's completely different.
Yeah. What about cancellations? How do you guys go with that? I know people have to leave a credit card with you to make a booking, but are there many cancellations?
We used to get heaps with COVID. coming out of lockdowns and stuff, and with COVID being quite rampant, there was really nothing that we could do. People were getting sick left and right and having to cancel and isolate. So we were, like with most restaurants, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't say, no, you can't cancel. If someone is truly sick and has to isolate, then that's, what they have to do. But definitely, especially with tasting menus, when you're looking at cancelling, the more notice that you give, the better. So right now, I think our policy is within 24 hours of your booking. So if you're cancelling within 24 hours, then they get charged. Or they have the option of rebooking. So they use their existing booking as kind of like a credit, and then they rebook for within 2 weeks later. Just looking from a functionality point of view in the kitchen, we order and we cook everything based off our bookings. Because it is tasting menu, you kind of are given that sort of consistency, so you know exactly how many of everything you need to prepare. So when we're going from, fully booked and then dropping a couple of tables, and now suddenly we have all of this prepared food and items that I guess are going to waste because the tables haven't been filled, it puts the restaurant back on costings and man hours, really. So that's why the cancellation policies exist, is to, I guess, give us some insurance or protect our business.
Yeah, it's totally understandable. And I mean, in a small restaurant like Amaru, which is, all open, it mustn't feel nice to see empty tables out there.
Absolutely. It's horrible. I mean, we, as much as we can, the restaurant feeds off the energy of all of the of the guests. When you're the only table in the restaurant, it can feel intimate, but it can also feel like super quiet and super lonely, compared to when the restaurant is completely full and there's a buzz and guests are chatting, and you can feel the energy in the kitchen and the front of house. And as much as we give a lot of effort and energy and time to our guests, I guess we also feed off that same energy from our guests. That's why we do it, is to be able to see the reactions, being able to provide guests with that experience. So when you're only, I guess, servicing 2 tables versus 10 tables, the fun is a little bit different as well.
Yeah, for sure. Restaurants are such organisms, aren't they? With all the parts have to work together for it to be to hum like as well as it can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's so great to have a chat to you. I really love hearing you talk about what you do and the path that you've taken so far. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
Not really. I think we covered everything. It was really nice to be able to chat with you, as always. Super nice to be able to talk about Amaru and, talking about everything that we are doing at the moment, which is really great. And yeah.
Yeah, good on you, Cam. Well, I'll see you at the awards, and please just try not to be nervous, because you really shouldn't be. It's so amazing to be there in the group, and it's such a great list. So I think any one of you would be worthy winners.
Thank you.
But yeah, I definitely wish you all the best. Okay, well, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it, and thanks for beautiful food that you've fed me over the years.
Always a pleasure. Okay, here's to heaps more.
Yeah, definitely. This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This